What's going on, guys and girls? It's Webby from Desert Sabers, back again for another, I say quick tutorial, but ended up going, a waffle. So what I'm going to show you today is how to set up the beta version, how to set up a new, I had a request to set up one of Jesse's font packages from scratch, and then show you how to do the one button mod for the beta version of the software. So first thing you want to do is download the beta. So you find the beta versions at the Rebel Armory. So under Professor Zol's lab, under his sub duecker here, go into the beta, and then scroll down, you've got the latest version. He'll always update the first thread of this. So if it goes to a 3.8 or 3.9, it will be in here. So you just click on that, and then you download it. We've already done it. So then you want to extract it, which is here. So what I do is, if you want to add the beta version, when you extract it, it's going to come out and it's just going to be called Proffie OS. I rename it to beta. So then when you copy it into your Arduino folder, it's not going to overwrite your main OS and get rid of all your config files. So you have to, rename or type in all of your config files again, which is just a pain in the ass. So I just rename it before I dump it in here. Then if I want to switch to it, I just click on the main OS and just type in main, and then for the beta, just get rid of the beta and call it Proffie OS. If you don't do that, it's not going to boot. It'll just say that it's the mismatch, and it won't actually work. So what I mean is, if you've set this up and you've had a heap of different config files like I have, if you copy over the top, you're going to lose these. So you have to type them all in again, which it's not a big deal, but it's for ease of laziness. So this is now the 3.7 beta. If you were to just flash your board, you'll get the new color change, which is baked into the OS, which is, you hold down both buttons, and then it will beep, and then you can sort of turn your wrist, or turn it on an axis, and you'll go through the color spectrum. Press them again, it will lock it in for that color. Even after turning off and turning back on, it works across all blade styles. So if you've got a fire blade, like a Kylo blade, you can change the colors of those. It works all the same. So that's if you want to do it straight from scratch. Put it on there, play around with the color change, which is actually really cool. And then it also adds in all the other new transition effects and everything like that. So that's the beta essentially set up. That's just how you do it. You copy it into there, rename it, otherwise it goes over everything, and you're good to go. So the one button mod, you need to go to the forum, so the open source Facebook group. So it's this one here, open source. Then you want to go down to files. I'm just going to use the stock one. This is the latest one. So this one has his new gesture control and color changing from one button. If you use the older one for the 2.9, it doesn't have, any of the new stuff. So, it's actually quite cool. So we just save that again, just save it to the desktop. It shows you how to do it here, where you need to put it. I've already done it, so we'll just copy it. So you just copy this. So you've got your one button mod downloaded. So then you want to put this into your beta, because only for 3.0 and above. It's not for 2.9. So when it comes out of beta 3, you can just drop it into your main OS folder. You want to go into the props folder, and I've already put it in there, and so it's in here. So that's set up as a one button mod. So now we're gonna set up a config file from scratch and add the Jesse's fonts on there. So you want to go back to the V5, which is I think there's another link to it, I don't know where it is, to the Proffie thing. So here you would just change it to none. So this is going to give you your one button mod. So here, your one button setup, which it works, but it doesn't like you can turn it on, but it doesn't turn off. From my experience with it, so it will work, but you all you can do is turn it on and turn it off. That's it. I don't know why, but it is. So we'll go to, I use Notepad++. It's good for finding errors, mainly for web stuff, because it shows you the line, so you can just, if you get an error on line 600, you can go down to the numbers. It's easier. So here I changed the volume. Normally run them at 900. I make the threshold normally 3. It's a good sort of in between, with false clashes and whatnot. In here is where you're going to put the one button code. So I've got it here, which you just copy it from the Facebook group and you can put it in. Now you put it in here. Now this one here, this is from the old one, so this is on the 2.9. The new one has the G for gesture. I don't know if it's like the G. To me, the G just represents gestures, but it's also just easier to remember for the beta software. So you add that in there. So that's set up now, ready to go. So if you were to flash this with all the defaults, it'll work with one button. So you just got to make sure that it's obviously wired to the main button, not the auxiliary button, otherwise it won't work. So now I had a customer that asked how to set up a SD card from Jesse from scratch. So now we've set up the initial config folder. Now we're going to go back, and I've downloaded Jesse's font fact, which is a Fiverr bundle, which these things are friggin' bangers. And I've set up a folder here to replicate the SD card. Obviously, when you put them on your SD card, you want to put them on the root of your SD card. Don't put them in a folder because it won't work. So he set it up by color, and it's CFX and Proffie. So we want to name the first one, we'll just call it fall, and then we'll do 3. So the next one we'll just, for ease use, fall 2, and then for something super original, fall 3. So then, again, this is going to be on the root of the SD card, your folders. This is going to correspond to here, so we can just change this now. So this is going to be your font. So this is going to be fall. And then the next one is going to be fall 2. And then the next one is going to be fall 3. So now that corresponds with what's on your SD card. So once you've, you can do it this way, like copy him over first and do whatever. It doesn't really matter how you do it. So you want to drag him into there. So that's going to be your first one. And then the second font, again, it's just, we'll do the cyan one. So cyan one, copy that into there. And then the third one. Now these are excellent. Like these are really, really good fonts. Like Jesse did such a good job of all these. All right, so they're set. So each font folder, which corresponds with the config folder, is set. Now we're going to work on the tracks. He does have tracks. It's under extras and then tracks. So for this, we'll just make it easier. We'll just dump them all over. There's 19 different music. So you can go through and pick the ones that you want. But for this demo, so we'll say, all right, well, the tracks is going to be, we're going to have JFO1. And then we want to do a different one for the second one. So it's going to be JFO2. And then for originality, we're going to be JFO3. So now when you hold down the power button, on the one button mod, it's holding it down after you turn it on. We'll start playing the tracks. Now it will play for the first 3 fonts, it's going to play all the different tracks. It's not just going to play one. So you would continue going on down here. He's got on the Survivor bundle, he's got a whole bunch more. So you can add them all on if you want. They correspond to obviously different colors. So if you want to have, he lays it out pretty easy. So if you wanted to have, different blade colors to correspond with the fonts, just makes it a little bit easier to use and remember. So again, you could just copy if you wanted to. If you're just going to set up a Fallen with nothing else, you could just copy all these over as blue, cyan, green, indigo, all the way down, so you don't have to rename anything. So once that's done, you know, it's all in here. So the tracks are set up, the font folders are set up, the one button set up. Now we've got to do the blades. So luckily for us, Fernando to the rescue again. He's got the new blades for the new OS 3.3 or above. This has got all the transition effects. It's got like your stab, lock up with power ripple, you know, like the cooldown retraction, which is excellent. So you can watch these. It shows you, you know, what each one does. But for this demo, we'll do a blue, green, and gold. So you just copy that. Go back to here. Make sure that it's going to be, you've got your little comma. You can change this. So this I don't think it's case sensitive. You can just leave it as whatever. This is just if you want to change the name. So, you know, if you're going to call this Fireblade Blue, for example, just so you remember what it is. I always forget to do it. So, like, all our config files all just say blue or green or red or, you know, whatever the character is. I always forget to do it. So that's the first one. Now, going into what I used to say before in the last video is you want to compile, you know, as you go. So we're going to save this out now. So we're going to call this full test.h. This is specific to Notepad++. You want to call it .h and then change the type to your little h, which is down here somewhere. H. So if you leave it as all files, it would be full test.h.text, and it won't work. So you either have to rename it to .h, or just change the file type within Notepad++. Don't think it with normal Notepad. I think you just name it to .h and then the type as all, or I can't remember how to do it for that. I use Notepad. So this is how you do it for that. So then we're going to change this to the main OS, which is the beta OS, because we renamed it before. We're going to drop that in the config. Okay. Did that do it? There's always something when you're recording. Okay, well it got rid of it. Alright, so we'll do it again. Okay, so we'll just copy this now. Alright, so pretend that never happened. Oh god. And I see. Okay. Okay, that was weird. Alright, it wouldn't save it. Alright, so let's try and save it again. So this is the one localized class. Yep, so that's the one. So save this out again as full test.h. Go back into the .h, which is here. Change this back again to the main OS, which is the beta OS, into the config folder, and it should save. Okay, so now that's done. So again, you want to do as you add them in to make sure you know you identify errors. Now we can go back into this one here, load it up. Now when you copy over the main one, so if we were to open up the main version, which I'll show you in a sec, the main version of the software, which is the 2.9, if you were to copy the beta software directly over the top, it wipes out all this and it just defaults it back. So you have to type it all in again, which is a pain. So that's why I rename it outside and then copy it over. So this is going to be full test.h. And then we want to see if it's going to compile. Alright, so it's looking good. So we know that the one that we copied over is going to work. So now we can go back and do another one. So alright, here's another one. We're going to do a green one. So we can go back into here. Paste this in. Again, make sure you've got your little comma. We can save this. And again, you don't have to change anything when you go back in. Recompile it again. So it's looking good. So once more, we're going to do a gold one. Actually, we'll do a Carlo. So just a main blade Carlo. So then we go in here again. Oops. Let's try that again. Alright, so you can see this one's massive. So we save that and we compile it again. And this one throw up an error. And it's because I didn't get rid of the other one first. Okay. So now we should be good. So I copied it. No, I still did it. Alright. So what we'll do is we'll just delete this one. And then we're going to go back to here. We're going to copy this one again. And then paste. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So we'll save that. And now we'll try it. So I must have doubled them up. That's what happens when you do videos after a day of doing installs. Your brain is mush. Alright, so that's compiled. So that'll work. So now we know that it's going to compile. We can plug the board in, you know, after you build, plug it in, upload it. It's going to work with the one button mod. So, you know, like press the button, it will obviously turn on. Hold down the button, hit the blade. It's going to set off the lockup. Hold it down for 3 or 4 seconds. While it's on, we'll start the music. Hold it down for 2 seconds, we'll turn it off. When it's off, hold it down for 2 seconds, it will switch fonts. And the color change, I have to look at. I don't know if you like double click it for color change. I'd have to have a look. These are betas. When it's all out and proper, then I'll do another one and go back over it. So this is what you would do, continuing going on. So you know, if you've got like a Graflex font, or if you've got a you know, like a Dark Lord font or something like that, you just go on. Jesse has a heap of different fonts, from all of them. KSIF puts out bangers as well. So you know, any of the guys in the font community, whatever one you want, you're pretty well covered for everything. So you know, you can add them in. You're just making sure that, again, this is your font folder, which is on your, you know, the faux font SD card. As long as they match, then you're not going to have any issues. So what I was talking about before, I'll just show this again. So we know that this is all going to work now. We've set up the config file. We've set it up for one button mod. All the presets are set. You know, all the blades are going to be working. So now what you can do is, if you want to go back to the main OS again, so if you just wanted to play around with the beta, for our installs that we sell, I don't put any of the beta software on there. I wait for the main OS. So basically, after, I don't know how many more revisions it's going to get on the 3 beta before it goes main. As soon as it goes set to out of beta, I'm going to be moving over all of our installs to that. The reason I don't add the beta software on there is if there is any unforeseen issues that arise within the software, I want to make sure that's all ironed out before it goes in the customer's hands. You know, the last thing I want you to do is get something and like a bug in the OS stops it from working. So as soon as it's come out of beta and everything's tested, the beta is pretty good. Like I've put it on a few of my personal Sabers, and yeah, it's really good. So I think it's really close. So if you want to go back to the main, again, you just go back into your Arduino folder, rename this to whatever it is, beta 3.7. Open up, like click on here, get rid of the main. You can call it, you know, Proffie 2.9 because that's what it is. And then all your config files are set. So if we were to go into here, it's not going to work. It's going to come up with an error. So it says the Proffie.os needs to be inside the Proffie OS folder. Because we renamed it, it's obviously it's not going to work. So if you come to that problem and you click in here and you come, that's why, because it's not the Proffie OS. You'll just need to rename that back to Proffie OS, and then it'll work. If you want to try any of the other forks, same thing. You just download them, dump them in here, and you're good to go. So now we're back on the Proffie OS, and if we open this is 2.9. Then it's going to open all your config files here, and you're back to 2.9 and programming until the beta software comes out. So yeah, that's about it really. We've covered the adding the fonts on, building the blades from scratch, adding here. Oh, sorry. Brain fart. Okay, what I didn't show you. So what I do after you do the fonts, transfer the fonts over, we need to change them. So depending on your config file, which, let me just open up this. Sorry, bear with me. I suppose I could edit this out. Nah, it's too hard. So open up. Okay, so this is your preset. So on the SD card, we've copied over all the presets. I want that one. So I've copied over the presets, so they'll match. Now, the very first font, like I said in the last video, the very first font, as per set out in the config folder, is going to be boot. So if you want to change it, to say something, it's going to be boot. So at the moment, the boot is this. If you did have Jesse's Survivor bundle, which is the Fallen one, under extras, you've just got spoiler quotes, but you probably would have played the game already by now. Or if you're useless like me, get stuck on Dathomir, like the 3rd level in. So you just want to copy them over, copy out the boot. It's not boot 1, you want to copy boot. Rename this one. Delete that one. And now your boot's going to be this. So it's only for the first one that you need to change the boot. Everything else and all subsequent, all other fonts after this is going to be font. So you need to change the font if you want it to say something. So, like here, we want to do a panic one, whatever that says, Jedi can't pick a fight or something. So we want to copy the font, delete the font, change it in here. And now it's going to play the font. So as it goes through, as you go down the list, you want to change the font to whatever. Shameen put a big font pack out a while ago. I'm not sure if it's still available. It might be still available on some of the Facebook groups. It was a massive font pack. It had sayings from all the movies, all the games. It was it was awesome. Even non trilogy movies, different genre of movies. It was awesome. You can get them from, you can get sounds from anywhere. You can rip them yourself out the movie. You can get it from YouTube. You can download them from different sites. You can get it from anywhere. So if you want to change them, you just got to change the fonts for everything after the first one. Remember, the first one's boot, and then all the rest of them are going to be changing the font. So yeah, that's what I forgot to tell you. So now we've covered that. Yeah, I think we're good to go. So if you have any other questions, let me know. I'll try, if you have any other suggestions for tutorials, or if anyone's getting stuck on anything, I'm not going to show any tutorials on how to build them. That's already been covered. Tom Tillman's done, a heap of awesome videos for, showing you how to wire up NeoPixel connectors and blade connectors, how to build blades. So he's got all that covered. I'm just, going to try and help with the software side. So if you want anything else that you want me to cover, just let me know in the comments, or shoot me an email, or on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, so thanks guys and girls. We'll see you in the next one.